everybody. Welcome back to Rush Fans Rush Roundtable. This is episode 267. We're calling this one Biggest Musical Surprise, the album edition, an idea thought of by our very own Randy Mack. Thank you, Randy. Awesome idea. So what we're basically going to be discussing tonight is things that happened throughout the discography or throughout Rush's career that are album or studio based, not live. That'll be a separate idea for another show that made us go, huh, huh. So, pleasant surprises of some kind, things we really liked, whether it was more subjective or whether it was, hey, I didn't expect that out of them. So, you'll see as we go along. I want to introduce my panel. We've got Rob, we've got Randy, and we've got Shane.
Hello.
And I'm your host, Paul. Thanks for joining us. And before we have to take care of the housekeeping stuff, of course, do please, if you enjoy our content, click that like button, subscribe so you're notified of all our episodes each week. Share us on your favorite social media pages. That would be great to get us out there more in the algorithm. And leave comments, because engagement does turn into being suggested to other people so we can get out there. Do check out our Ko-fi we have down there if you decide that you really like our stuff and you want to shoot us a little bit of a Ko-fi. Knowing us, we'll go to like Rye Guy's whiteboards and dry erase markers. It's not like we're making a mint off this. But we also have our awesome merch shop where you can pick up cool Rush Fans merch, such as that
Sweet.
and that, et cetera, et cetera. T-shirts, stickers, lots of fun stuff. And do check out our sponsors, please. Their links are also below, and they're awesome. So, gentlemen, biggest musical surprises. These are not going to be in any particular order of grandiosity or holy cow. We simply each picked a couple, and actually we picked more than a couple. So what we're going to do is we're going to go around. We'll go Rob, Randy, Shane, me. And in doing so, we'll come up with three definite big ones each that we want to talk about and maybe kick around the group. And then since we have probably even more than that, we'll probably do a little bit of a rapid fire after that just to make sure more get mentioned. And if we skipped yours, do please put it in the comments. Start a dialogue with us. So, Rob, what was your first musical surprise?
Okay, I'm going with solo albums. So 90s, early 2000. I wasn't expecting anything solo from any of the guys in the band. I mean, Neil had his Burning for Buddy thing happening, his instructional video. But the thing that, struck me as a surprise, like, well, these guys are nice and tight. They're a unit, they're a band, and then they broke out and did solo records. So for me, another pleasant surprise of doing that was the difference between both Alex and Geddy's approach to the solo album, and the amount of time it took for them to put these records together. And then, of course, what happened from those albums transpired stylistically into Vapor Trails, Snakes and Arrows. So it really kind of set the stage for how they were doing what they do, moving into the rest of their career. So that was the first surprise for me, was solo albums.
Excellent choice.
Do you think
Well,
after hearing My Favorite Headache that Alex called Getty and went, hey, where are all the keyboards? Why do I have to have so many keyboards and you don't?
they're all on Alex's album, that's why.
You got your string thing going on, but no keys.
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic albums, too. Excellent. Good call. Randy, what you got?
Am I freezing up on y'all?
You are.
Yeah, y'all are freezing up on me. Is it my turn?
Yes, it is.
Your turn.
Okay. So let's see. I would say that I got into the band in '89 because I was in a band myself. The drummer was obsessed. You know how this goes. Heard Presto for the first time in his first week and was like, yeah, it's all right. But then like after a year of hearing it constantly, I was completely 100% in. And this was the era of lots of, you might say, overproduction, where it was very glossy, and the Rupert Hine era, shall we say. And when I heard, 1993, day one, Tuesday afternoon, I went and picked up Verses and Counterparts And when I heard, I mean, I hit play and then just turned the volume all the way up, and you hear the count off in the background, and then I was like, whoa, that's a surprise. They've never had a vocal count out. And then that amazing anime drum sound just destroyed my brain. And I thought, oh, this is amazing because it's been now, I don't know, 4 years of having my metalhead friends tell me Russia's lost it, they've lost their fast, like they're a soft rock band now, blah blah. Those first two bars of Animate, I was like, oh yeah, now I can go back to my Metallica friends and be their fastball, huh? The fire they're spitting on this.
Good call. Excellent choice. And funny thing is, I had that as one of my follow-ups too. That was I started listening at Show of Hands, but Presto was my first new Rush album bought on release day, and it was the same thing for me. So, and then closing out with Everyday Glory, just everything being so big. So yeah, great.
I had
Great
that same
choice.
I had that exact same reaction when I heard it on the radio. I thought, oh wow, somebody got some balls finally after the last couple of albums or so, kind of not kind of wimpy sounding. Um, and speaking of that, my first entry comes on the album before that, Roll the Bones, but it's not the one that I think everyone's going to think it is. It's A Ghost of a Chance, which is it's just a different style, and it's lighter and it's softer, especially on the chorus. The I believe there's almost a ballad like, and it sounded great and I loved it, but it was just, I remember just being shocked going, wow, I did not expect it to go from that da 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 down to that nice soft melodic chorus.
Very
Yeah.
good choice. Yeah, see, I was a sucker
And a
for
grand
again,
piano
coming in
too.
at Presto. I cut you off, Randy.
Oh, sorry. There's a grand piano in that chorus, and they hadn't used the grand piano in,
Wherever.
I want to say.
Good deal. All right. Well, I wanted to make sure that Rob got that one out of the way so that I didn't jump in and piggyback or steal thunder. I'm going. My first choice was actually already taken, so I'm going with the Getty's Lost Demos. Uh, that was when he released My Effin' Life, and then released both Gone and I Am You Are. I I actually got to be on our Rush Fans episode deep dive with Ben Mink on the Lost Demos. That was a channel highlight for me so far. Super nice guy, very knowledgeable, very interesting. Those songs I listened to, I, I memorized them. Matter of fact, I even submitted like lyrical corrections to certain online outlets because I'm like, no, 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 I think it's this, because that's how much I was listening to them. I love both those songs. They hold just as much of a place in my heart as most Rush songs. Um, Hopefully that's not too heretical for people, but I just think they're absolute pieces of work. So that is my first one. So,
Yeah,
Love them too.
very nice. Yeah, my second one was Take Off. So I have Canada in my head recently. As of this episode, a lot of things happening. So Take Off, Bob and Doug McKenzie from their Great White North album. That was a surprise for me, just him doing this sort of comedy record. And this was like, in 81, and the song reached number 2 on the Chum charts, which is like a hit parader show in Canada. And it was number 1 for 2 weeks. I think in the States, it hit, I think the highest it went was number 8. I'm not, don't quote me on charts. I'm not as good trivia wise with charts. But great
there's
job. I
Tim
mean,
Derling when we need him.
yeah, you know. So that was a surprise to me, him venturing out and doing that. I mean, he did other stuff too. It wasn't just, an appearance on this record at this time. He did other stuff as well outside the band. And again, like this with the solo records, he was still involved with the band, obviously. But him to go into this realm of comedy was a surprise, and hearing on the radio at the time was great. Like, is that Getty? I didn't know if it was him or not. I couldn't tell initially if that was him or not. I'm like, oh yeah, it's definitely Getty. Even at that age, I knew. So that's my second choice.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Good call. All right, Randy.
We're already back. All right. It's Lundi Gras night in New Orleans, by the way. So I don't know if that's what's going on with the network. It's the night before Mardi Gras, and the entire city is in traffic purgatory. Well, let's talk about Feedback. Feedback is an all covers Rush album with no prog rock on it. When they announced the 30th anniversary tour, they said, "Oh well, it felt weird to do a tour without any new material." So we went in the studio and we found these songs that had inspired us as young musicians. And so I'm immediately thinking, yes, Genesis, UK, and then it comes out and they really meant young musician because most of those tracks are from like 66 to 68, which is kind of pre-prog metal era. It's pre-Yes and pre-Genesis stuff. And I was I was real like in sort of baffled by wow, like we're never gonna hear Rush do, Roundabout. But then the joke was on me, of course, because when Yes was put in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, he got to replace Chris Squire, R.I.P. And I find that whole album delights, but also like very baffling because it's not my era of music nor my style. I think my favorite cut on it is Mr. Soul because Geddy's range is so similar to Neil Young's. And but I do love. I've always been a fan of the acoustic. Not to go into the next episode of this, but when they did the acoustic versions, as in the middle of
That's one of mine.
Concert, I thought it was such a great moment. So the whole Feedback album, that's my pick.
Excellent pick.
I didn't even think about that. How cool would it have been for them to have covered Apricot Brandy on that? I would have loved to have heard them doing it. That would have been cool. All right, my second choice comes from hearing the sweet dulcet tones of a guest female vocalist on Time Stand Still. I mean, just their voices go together so well. There's like a few duets out there in the world that I love to hear together. And it's a shame that they only did the one song because Geddy and Amy Mann just sounded so good together. And I did not see that coming.
Yeah. That's a great one.
That is a very good one, and it's even better because that is this. You could tell we did not compare notes before this episode.
Oh no!
Because no, it's okay. I can jump off, and I'll go broad. Featured musicians. While yes, you did have someone else playing. I can't remember, Jason, whoever, playing piano on Available Light, and obviously, Terry Brown played on. Various players have been on there, but featured musicians, we had Ben Mink with Losing It. The first time I heard Losing It, and again, late to the party, so I heard it after I started my way backwards. Blew my mind. And then another one I wanted to, just to keep it unique, since yes, I did have Time Stand Still in there, but also closer to the heart, the Tsunami Relief version with Bubbles, Mike Smith from Trailer Park Boys, and Ed Robertson from Bare Naked Ladies. Time for me to give us at least one hot take so they can troll me in the comments. It is easily my favorite version of Closer to the Heart because of how clean everything sounds and how full and rich all that acoustic sounds, plus the harmony vocals that come in with Ed and Mike singing on occasion. I absolutely love that version. So to make it more all-encompassing, I'll say featured musicians, but yes, I agree completely. So, Rob, we will go to your third pick.
For me, I would say the topics that are covered on Snakes and Arrows, since we're in the midst of talking about this record as we're taping this episode. Hot button topics on the record. So I'm surprised that they want to go into this sort of area a little bit. Apart from the actual sequencing of the record and what's on the record, there's a few other surprises too. But I just overall, as a whole entity of a record, I was just surprised that they were covering, faith and religion and things of that nature on an album. So I think it's a first too. They haven't really talked about these topics at length on any record, apart from certain tracks here and there through the discography. But to cover this, particular influence that Neil got from motorcycling through the South of the United States, Southeast portion, and seeing all the church signs and whatnot, and that inspired him to sort of, explore the subject a little bit in such a way that it's not confrontational. It's very, like, it's just, I would say, respectable, but it's not, you're not being beaten over the head by what he discusses. So that was a surprise to me, just the idea of covering that topic and doing it in such a classy way that makes you still think. It keeps in line with all the albums. It makes you think about certain things without being, bludgeoned. So that's my next pick. So
Excellent. Very good point out. All right. Randy, your next one?
Cool.
And now you're muted. You're muted.
I'm just
The
trying to
There you
preserve bandwidth and yeah, but they talked about Shane's the collaborations he mentioned. The discovery of Battle Scar blew my mind. Absolutely out of the water.
yes.
You collect the live albums, you see who they played with and things, you realize, wow, this Max Webster band is, who's Max Webster? What, like you think he's a person and it's a band and it's another power trio and they're also Canadian, and then you realize they're touring together. Then you discover they basically laid down like a track live as with both trios playing together simultaneously that opens with a bass solo and is basically a protracted duet. It's still one of my favorite tracks of all time. Like the Battle Scar absolutely rules, and Rush never did anything even remotely similar.
Excellent pick.
really good.
I'd never even heard of
I
this.
haven't
I heard
thought
of
about
Battle
that in a while.
Scars. I'd never even heard of it until not this episode, but until this show. And it was Getty's best performances. And Donna Halper mentioned Getty's performance on Battle Scar. And I went, gotta go check that out. Whoa. Wow. That's awesome. I try to look at this two ways. I try to take it from my surprises, because just because of my age, I was late to the party. I didn't hear about them until Signals was already out. So then I try to think about people that were with them the whole time, and as albums came out, what they heard, what would have been shocking to them. So I hope that's not too much of a stretch on my part. But I think on 2112, Tears, to suddenly hear this ballad after the first three albums, to have this nice soft ballad, it didn't shock me as much because I had, diving in after so many albums in, then pretty much nothing is surprising. But Tears had to have been a shock for people back then when 2112 first came out.
Yep. Excellent choice. And funny thing is, first time I never listened to the older back catalog for a long time, which is now a legendary running joke with us. But first time I truly gave it a listen was Alice in Chains' cover of it, which is excellent.
Yes. They're perfect for that song.
Yes. Yeah. So, and that actually got me into almost as fast as Ryan putting me on Stick It Out and forcing me to listen to all the old stuff and finally getting into it. For those who are looking at the screen or listening to this and going, what is he talking about? Stick It Out is a series that we've done 3 seasons of so far, where Rush fans, panelists, listen to songs they either didn't like, didn't give enough of a try to, or haven't really gotten into. 4 out of my 5 were Permanent Waves or earlier, because I didn't listen. Permanent Waves I had, but someone threatened me to put Natural Science on there because I didn't appreciate it as much as he did, and it turned out to be my second favorite out of all my picks. So, and most of the other ones were pre-Permanent Waves. So that's what got me into the 70s catalog. But yeah, Tears, excellent choice. I'm going to go to the opposite side of the timeline for my last one. The strings on Clockwork Angels. I haven't made too much of a mystery or too much of a secret out of the fact that I think Clockwork Angels is, I agree with the band. They think it's the best thing they ever did. I think it's the best thing they ever did. Feel free to, again, throw the hate at me. I can't wait to cover this album, but I have been a nut for strings pretty much since I was old enough to like music. So we're talking age 5, 6, somewhere around there. I've always loved violins, I've always loved cellos. And then to hear, Michael Kamen was one of my favorite uh, uh, uh,
Rangers.
people who did scores for music and just, yeah,
Composers?
conductors, etc. Yes.
I'm there.
And so anything, Nothing Else Matters from Metallica, Who Wants to Live Forever from Queen, any song that had Michael Kamen in it, I was all over. And then I've been a movie nut since I was a kid. But point is, strings and orchestrations and all that have always been a huge, huge part of my musical love. And to have an entire album with strings from Rush, let alone a concept album, full story, and then eventually books, graphic novels, etc. Absolute dream come true. And we're not talking live this time around, but hint, hint. So kind of a big deal for me. So as far as like personal ones, that one hit pretty hard. I was ecstatic about that. So, well, we said 3 each, and we are doing good on time. So if we want to throw out a couple honorable mentions / things that haven't come up yet, we can go in order. If I don't have that many on the side, I know a couple of you do. So, Rob, you want to name one or name a couple or discuss for a couple? Throw a couple out at us.
Well, I love all the choices. First off, feedback was great. Hearing Getty sing "Sometime Blues" was like a huge surprise for me. I'm like listening to the song again, like that sounds like Getty, just like on Take Off. That was a surprise, hearing that. Hearing Amy Mann on "Time Stands Still." I guess one of the things I could throw in real quick is Neil playing traditional grip on Test for Echo throughout the whole record. So that was a cool thing, and hearing his time sense changing a little bit, even though it didn't sound like he changed a lot, but he did because Getty and Alex noticed it when they played with him. So traditional grip for Neil on Test for Echo.
Cool. Randy, throw another one at us.
My discovering Passenger Bangkok was not about world travel. That was quite a surprise when I got to college and all the stoners were like, "Yeah, it's the only Rush song we're into, man." And I was like, "What? Why?"
That's awesome.
Okay, I'm sorry. I saved my best for last. I should have done this one sooner and maybe saved Tears for an honorable mention, but 2112 after Caress of Steel, to listen to that, just the epic sound, the huge sound, the orchestration. I mean, the record company wanted them to come back with something radio friendly. And what do they have? A 20-minute rock orchestra. And then just the subject matter and how it aligns with Anthem, the book, the Ayn Rand book Anthem, just crazy. And then just the layers of instrumentation, borrowing the lick from the 1812 overture and rocking that up, just awesome. I mean, just it has to be the biggest leap. And they had some big leaps, but just going back to that time, 76 when it came out compared to those first 3 albums, hearing 2112 for the first time just had to have been unbelievable.
Okay, my one honorable mention I definitely want to throw out there. This is the most subjective one by far. So this is not people who are tuning in this episode, especially if they're tuning in late, as some of our live chat people do at the premieres on Friday, are going to think, how do you go from 2112 and something as epic as this to what Paul's about to say? And that's simply because this is a purely subjective listening experience on my part. And it made me think of it based on what you guys threw out for your last couple ones. When I first joined Rush Fans, my first roundtable was Time Stand Still. And Rob, I believe, hosted it, as a matter of fact. Thank you very much. Look at what you've created. That being said, after that, we had Open Secrets and then Second Nature. And then I think, someone correct me, Prime Mover next. I skipped Lock and Key. When I was practice or when I was studying up for the roundtable for Lock and Key, it was the first time I'd really given Hold Your Fire a really hard listen to on a really good sound system in 2 decades. I'm talking not in a car, not on headphones, but actually putting it through something. When that Taurus bass pedal kicks in on Lock and Key, the house shook. It was awesome. So I was trying to figure out a way to put that in here, but since we have a couple subjective mentions, I just wanted to throw that out there. I love the song anyway. It was probably in my top 10 of all time for a very long time with Rush. But I mean, literally, you could have picked my jaw up off the floor. I was like, remember the old Memorex commercials?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that was me. So I already love this. Picture hearing a song that you love and not hearing it the right way for decades, and then hearing it the way they wanted you to hear it, and be like, I get it now. So that was kind of a big subjective one for me. It was Lock and Key.
Good choice.
So anyone have any other honorable mentions you want to throw out before we get to wrapping this bad boy up? Yes, we know there are many, many. And on the subjective note, I just want to throw out, I'm sure we didn't mention, Roll the Bones. They're doing a rap. Randy had given us, when he brought this idea to us, he had given us a couple of examples. And I think we all shied away from going towards some of those examples because we weren't sure who was using them or how obvious they were. So yes, we know we have not covered anywhere near as many as there could be. Like Everyday Glory, talking about, the verses, talking about neglected children and possible domestic abuse. Yes, we know there's tons of answers for this. We only have 4 panelists, and we only have certain times we can make these episodes. So please do throw them on. But guys, any last minute ones you want to throw in, or think we've covered the ones we're going to cover?
I'm good.
Okay.
Back to you, Paul.
Got it. All right. That being said, keep in mind, we are going to be doing a live version of this in a couple, I don't know, if we could talk to the guy who does the scheduling. Oh, right, that's me. So we'll come back to this as a live topic. I would like it to be us if possible, please, gentlemen. That'll be a couple weeks, maybe a month or two. We're going to play with next couple episodes coming up. Got some surprises coming too. We are in our 50 season, so you can expect to see some of that coming up pretty soon. Hint, hint, hint. And do please remember to like, subscribe, check out our sponsors in the links below. And that being said, this is going to be a wrap on 267. I want to thank Rob, Randy, and Shane. And I have been Paul, your host, and we will catch you on the next one.